The world's roads have never been busier. All across the globe, we know bad driving leads to accidents. An upsurge in onboard cameras reveals extraordinary escapes from Sydney to St. Petersburg, Washington to Warsaw. There are thousands of unexpected events and compelling close calls. Be it on 4 wheels, 2 wheels, or even off-road. They're filmed through the eyes of the people who lived to tell the story. It's life on the world's roads as we've never seen it before. On average, every 3rd traffic accident in Russia involves a pedestrian. If only they were all as painless as this one. But as one of the most vulnerable groups on the road, pedestrians do sometimes get hit. Walking in between stationary cars can be dangerous. So it's best to keep your wits about you. Luckily, this chap was only a little winded by the experience. As a pedestrian, it always pays to stay alert. This car loses control in the snowy conditions and leaves the girl thanking her lucky stars. While some accidents are inevitably caused by bad driving, there are some occasions when pedestrians put themselves in danger, as this driver in Singapore is about to find out. Having escaped the attentions of its mother, the toddler runs straight out into the road with no realization of the danger he's in. If it wasn't for the quick reactions of the driver, it could have been a very different story. No doubt this relieved mother will be teaching her youngster a thing or two about road safety. And the parents of this toddler in Oregon will be glad that the first car that came across their 2-year-old belonged to the local police. They quickly found the child's distraught parents, and they were all reunited. Apparently, the toddler had slipped out of a side door in the blink of an eye while his parents were clearing up at a family function. The reactions of this next driver in Poland are about to be tested to the limit. As he drives along a country road in Warsaw, he's flashed by an oncoming car. But he cannot have anticipated what was about to happen. The driver reacts quickly to the mysterious pedestrian appearing in front of him, but then loses control. Luckily, the driver and his passenger escaped with minor injuries, but the mysterious man who caused the accident was never found. The humble bicycle is the world's most popular form of transport. In 2011, there were an estimated 133 million bikes produced and sold globally. That's more than double the number of cars manufactured worldwide. But with cyclists and motorists forced to share the same tarmac, it can inevitably lead to near misses and dramatic crashes. Like everyone we're about to see in this program, the rider involved escaped without serious injury. While some riders have audacious bike control, others are less capable. Crashes can be caused by mechanical failure, or debris in the road. Happily, the rider was fine, if a little shaken. But sometimes it's down to operator error. Maybe next time these two cyclists from Russia will watch where they're going. Not all road users are happy to share the road with bikes, as these two cyclists are about to discover. But this driver's not finished yet. He's about to make these riders' lives very difficult by slamming on his brakes. The driver was later found and convicted of 3 separate offences in relation to this incident. Awareness of other road users is key, as this cyclist from China proves. Incredibly, as the 14-wheeled articulated lorry knocks the cyclist over, he slips in between the wheels and emerges shaken, but seemingly unscathed a few seconds later. On this occasion, the cyclist rode his luck and escaped, with only minor cuts and bruises. There's always someone on the road who thinks they can do the job in one trip, even when it means loading a vehicle beyond what should really be possible. So here's our top 5 most overloaded vehicles. At 5, this guy carrying an enormous length of ducting whilst riding on a moped. Either he's in a hurry to get it somewhere, or he thinks he's a medieval knight ready for a jousting tournament. Number 4 goes to this farmer from Ireland who's come up with this ingenious way of transporting his hay bales. Who needs a tractor when you've got a small family saloon? Ever seen a truck do a wheelie? Well, now you have. Whoever loaded this scaffolding truck may have made a major miscalculation. Still, it could be worse. At least the driver's not stuck in the... Oh. Tricycle trucks are popular in China for their generous load space, although this driver with his collection of recyclables may have taken it too far. But in at number 1 in our chart is this mysterious moving pile of polystyrene boxes. The driver's piled his vehicle so high, it's impossible to know what it actually is under there. How he can see where to turn at the crossing is anyone's guess, but it does bring a whole new meaning to the term wide load. Coming up, we meet some of Australia's most unusual road users and find out what happens to this driver when he faces flying debris. From all over the world, we're looking at the most dramatic smashes and some downright dangerous driving, proving that it only takes a second to get caught up in a crash. Windscreens. Not always that useful, are they? Sometimes objects can find a gap, especially when you're in an off-road vehicle. The branch slips through the windscreen and almost spears the passenger. But even on the public road and in the elevated seating position of a bus, objects can still pose problems for windscreens. This bus driver in China was lucky to be left with only minor injuries when a rock kicked up by a passing truck smashed through his windscreen. The rock narrowly misses the driver, but covers him in shattered glass. Given the size of the projectile, it's safe to say that this could have been a lot worse for both him and his passengers. There's no way the driver of this car in Belgium could have ever predicted what was about to happen. Driving along the motorway with blue skies, dry roads and minimal traffic, what could possibly go wrong? I bet no one was guessing that the side of a van would collapse, were they? That is going to take some explaining when they get back to the depot. Still, at least there's video evidence to back up their story. In Bergen, Norway, a lorry highlights the dangers posed when cargo isn't properly secured. As the lorry passes, the unexpected happens. This driver is also in for a shock when something comes loose on a lorry. It was a small section of I-beam destined for a building site. In some ways, this was a lucky escape for the driver of the car, as the object didn't break through the windscreen. But a quick look at the outside of the vehicle shows damage not only to the windscreen, but also to the bodywork as well. But it's not always objects breaking in through the windscreen which is the problem. The driver and passenger of this small truck in the Sichuan province of China are catapulted through the windscreen after being hit by a large tipper truck. Incredibly, they both suffered only minor injuries and were taken to hospital. So it seems stuff hitting our windscreens isn't as rare as you'd have thought. Australia has a population of over 24 million people and over 18.4 million registered cars. It's also home to some of the world's most extraordinary animals.
Excuse me, mate. Get off the bloody road, mate.
In fact, 80% of their plants and wildlife are unique to the country. One of their most famous animals is the kangaroo. But when they can grow up to 1.5 meters tall and weigh 200 pounds, the last place you would want to see one is whilst traveling at speed on a motorbike. While some of their animals are cute, others, such as this emu, are fast, capable of sprinting at speeds up to 30 miles per hour. But it's a more commonly found bird which almost causes an accident here. The drivers all brake for seemingly no reason. It catches out the driver of the Jeep towing the trailer. Thankfully, they managed to bring the car and trailer to a halt in the central reservation. But what was it that caused them to brake so suddenly? A family of ducks crossing the road. Due to the vast size of the country and the remote nature of some of the communities, Australia is also home to the world's largest and heaviest road-legal vehicles, with some rigs topping out at close to 200 tons. But driving one on busy motorways rather than the long straight roads of the outback is no easy feat. Unfortunately, the car the road train clips smashes into an accident response truck parked at the side of the road. So some aren't the best drivers, but Aussies are all sporty, right? Well, not this young man from Melbourne, apparently. As he takes off, all appears to be well, but not for long. This man from Queensland seems to have misunderstood the instructions for his bike rack. It may have seemed like a good idea when they set off, but it's the sort of thing the police take a dim view of. It ended up costing the driver $600 and a 6-month driving ban, so at least those bikes should come in handy. In 2016, the global population was estimated to be at an all-time high of 7.4 billion people. It also means space on Earth is at a premium like never before, and as the natural habitats of animals are squeezed, the chances of encountering an animal on the roads has never been higher. And when animals attack, it's sometimes better to turn around and run away. This motorcyclist out for a ride in Thailand did just that after this herd of elephants took exception to sharing the road. But it's not only large animals that road users need to be wary of. This terrifying swarm of bees followed the bus for 2 kilometers. They eventually gave up, but why they were following the bus in the first place remains a mystery. This cyclist from Perth, Australia, was also subject to some unwanted attention. This time from a disgruntled magpie. But when you're driving in a car, something as harmless as a bird couldn't pose that much of a problem. Could it? The driver of this car in Arizona says he lost control after trying to avoid a flock of birds. He could never have imagined that it would cause this much havoc. The car slides 800 yards down the road before coming to a stop just 2 feet from the barrier. Incredibly, he managed to avoid hitting anything and emerged totally unscathed, apart from a few ruffled feathers. When this group of tourists went on safari at the Kruger National Park in South Africa, they never imagined they would be getting this close to a huge python. As the driver carefully tries to pass the python on their way back to the lodge, it soon becomes clear that it has other ideas. Although a python isn't venomous, their bite can still be incredibly powerful. As the driver tries to maneuver and pass on the other side, the snake strikes again. Eventually, the driver had to admit defeat, and the group found another route home. But safaris aren't as dramatic as this, right? The buffalo stampede after being spooked by a lion at a watering hole. In the USA, these cops from Tennessee got more than they bargained for when they responded to a call about some dogs on the loose.
One player McKinney called back, spending 25 minutes pulling up the city.
In no mood to be taken to the local pound, the pooches go to work on the patrol car's front bumper. The officer moves his car backwards and forwards to try and shake them off, but it doesn't work. The dogs had escaped from their owner's backyard and then gone on the rampage in the local area. Although police had managed to track the owner down, they were still 20 minutes away, so the officers were trying to get the dogs back under control with limited success. Eventually, the dogs succeeded in pulling the bumper clean off the car, at which point the officer decides to beat a hasty retreat. The owners of the marauding mutts eventually returned, and they were taken home. It just goes to show that on the roads, the unexpected can happen when animals attack. Coming up, we meet some of Russia's most dangerous road users and find out what happens to these jokers trying to get a tow. We're going around the world looking at the craziest crashes and extreme near misses. As we've seen, you can never tell what might happen. Snowy and icy conditions can make roads a dangerous place to be. In fact, in the US alone, nearly 76,000 people are injured in vehicle crashes during snowfall every year. This guy's finding out what happens when your windscreen gets battered by hail as large as tennis balls.
Break it down.
It's not only hail which can damage a car windscreen. Cold weather can also have other unexpected consequences. This incident was recorded by a Canadian police cruiser, so no doubt the driver of the lorry will be getting a reminder of the importance of clearing snow and ice from your vehicle before setting off. Something the driver of this car is also about to find out to his cost. It's hasta la vista, baby, for this guy's windscreen. With his windscreen totally shattered, he does the only sensible thing and gets over to the hard shoulder as soon as possible.
Break it down.
Around the world, wintry conditions are some of the hardest to drive in. Some people even have specialist equipment. Although these Russian cops from the city of Saratov took a dim view of this skidoo rider taking to the streets on his snowmobile. But in everyday vehicles, driving in snowy conditions can be treacherous. Stopping distances can be up to 10 times greater than in the dry. This driver not only careers off the road, but takes out 2 power cables while they're at it. Not all crashes are quite so spectacular, but they are definitely annoying, particularly for the owner of the car parked at the side of the road caught up in this accident. And even the big beasts of the road aren't immune to the dangers. The driver of this lorry in Kazakhstan was lucky to walk away after his cab was almost completely destroyed by the impact from the cement mixer. It's a tight squeeze out of there. Here, an onlooker started filming after noticing a particularly slippery corner of road. And it wasn't long before a car lost control on the ice. But it wasn't the only one. They just kept on coming. One icy corner and thousands of pounds worth of car destroyed. But snowy conditions can almost cost people their lives. In Montana, highway patrol officers are responding to an accident which has left a mother and her 2 children stranded at the side of the road. Little could they have known what was about to unfold.
Missoula, send medical. We just had a semi-truck plow into the car that's crashed.
The officer's dash cam captures the moment a lorry loses control and plows into the family's car. The force of the impact throws the mother from her car to the central reservation.
Get the medical bag out of the trunk.
The officers rush to the car to help the family, but at first don't realize what has happened to the mother.
Ma'am, are you okay? Are you under the truck?
As they try to help the children in the car, Their mother continues to lie unnoticed.
Get the tire iron! Get the tire iron! Ma'am, we're trying!
They eventually find her, and even as vehicles continue to hurtle past, the officer tries to help. But things are about to get even worse.
We got one female in the median. People, heads up, heads up, heads up! Heads up! Watch out!
Another 2 vehicles lose control and slide into the scene of the incident, just missing the officer and the injured driver in the middle of the road. But they aren't out of the woods yet.
Get out of the road! Everybody on the road! To the fence! Everybody get to the fence!
This time, one of the troopers notices an out-of-control truck and trailer heading straight for his colleague. He shouts a warning, and the officer manages to pull himself and the victim to safety with only moments to spare.
Here, we need somebody at the top of the hill to stop traffic. We need to close down the interstate. We've had multiple near people hit. They are going like crazy. We've got 2 semi-trucks involved in the crash, at least 3 vehicles in a tow truck, and we've got multiple people around. Everybody needs to go to the fence!
Incredibly, despite the treacherous conditions and the terrible accidents, everyone survived and recovered. Those involved later attended a ceremony to honor the policeman's bravery in rescuing them.
A very big truck hit you. We have an ambulance here right now.
Russia may only have the 9th largest population in the world, but it's the largest country by area, covering more than 1/8 of the Earth's inhabited land. But with over 50 million registered cars, despite all that space, it also has one of the highest car accident rates in the world. Extreme wintry weather, dangerous driving, and scams like this one can make Russia's roads a dangerous place to be. You might ask, what on earth is happening here? Watch again as the driver of the silver car initiates an innocuous accident before one of the passengers gets out to threaten the other driver with a gun and try and extort money from him. Wisely, he gives them some cash and they disappear. It's no wonder that most Russians consider dash cams essential in-car kit. And it means all sorts of collisions are caught on camera. This driver is minding his own business, trying to get out of this parking lot. With a car ahead, they'll surely stop and wait, won't they? It's reported the woman told police she'd accidentally stepped on the accelerator rather than the brake. This lorry driver is about to find out what happens when you have no brakes at all. When the driver realizes what's happened, he turns the truck into the barrier of the bridge to try and slow down. Possibly one of the last places you'd want to lose control is on a bridge high above the icy waters of the river Oka in Nizhny. In Russia, with so many dash cams about, there's a chance you might film your own mistakes. This driver seems quite excitable. I'm not sure they're meant to be overtaking on that side. The shouting continues, and perhaps inevitably, she ends up losing control. Luckily, they only had minor injuries. Towing trailers or other vehicles can make driving more difficult. Despite the obvious dangers, a survey in the US found that 70% of trailer owners didn't really understand the correct way to tow. In the Jiangsu province of China, these people have taken a novel approach to towing. Two teenagers have tied the same rope to each of their mopeds and are using their combined horsepower to pull the three-wheel truck along the road. It's certainly not the conventional way to help a broken-down vehicle. But that's not the only way to tow something using a moped. Take these two gentlemen from Iran who've invented the world's first wheelbarrow trailer. Whether it will become a commercial success remains to be seen, but for now, these two seem pretty pleased with it. In the Japanese region of Kanto, this small 600cc 4x4 is certainly pulling its weight. You're probably thinking they're towing another car. Well, you'd be wrong. Despite the tricky driving conditions and its tiny engine, this plucky little off-roader manages to tow a 25-ton HGV through the snow-covered streets. From big to small. In Australia, a father has pimped his kid's toy car. Trouble is, he may have overdone it. Whatever you're towing and however you're towing it, it always pays to check you've got the right equipment to stay in control. When it comes to towing fails, these two chancers in the city of St. Petersburg definitely win. They've broken down and decided that paying to get the car recovered is not an option. Unfortunately for these two, it doesn't quite go according to plan. I'm not sure a career in vehicle recovery beckons for either of these two. But they're not out of the woods just yet. They've also been caught red-handed. Much to the amusement of the people capturing the incident on their smartphone. Coming up, we see the worst in crossroad collisions, cars being used as weapons, and some of the world's luckiest escapes. So far, we've witnessed crashes caused by witless driving and damaging debris. All over the world, crashes are happening all of the time. Canada's roads are safer than those in the USA, but that doesn't mean to say they don't have their fair share of accidents. And research from Canada shows that crashes at crossroads account for almost 3/4 of injuries caused by road traffic accidents. This accident took place at a busy crossroads in Toronto. It was caused by the driver of the saloon car running a light before smashing into the side of the MPV. The owner of the dashcam sent the footage to the Toronto police to be used as evidence. Wherever you are in the world, crossroads are a dangerous place to be. This woman in China runs a red light. Incredibly, she was left with only minor injuries and almost immediately gets up to retrieve her cabbages, which lay strewn across the carriageway. As a pedestrian on a crossroad, it always pays to stay alert, as this road sweeper is about to find out. She looks the other way for 1 second and... amazingly, she quickly dusts herself down and makes her way to the other side of the road. When you have two cars coming from different directions who both think they have the right of way, there's normally only one possible outcome. Thankfully for these two, the only major damage in this instance was to their vehicles. At another crossroads, two cars come together. From this angle, it looks like a fairly straightforward crash. But seen from another camera, it tells a different story. It's very unfortunate for the driver of the car just waiting at the lights, minding their own business. Despite the scale of the accident, all those involved survived. But what happens when the traffic lights stop working? Well, you could follow the example of these two. They created their own makeshift traffic control system, a person dressed as a traffic light, after the real ones had been out for a month. Though whether standing in the middle of a busy intersection is a great idea remains to be seen. When we think of road rage, we normally think of people shouting,
What is it with you people?
gesticulating, and perhaps even getting physical. Here, the driver of a truck gets annoyed when another lorry cuts in front of him. Not content with sounding his horn, he decides to use his lorry to scrape all the way down the side of the other vehicle. Letting your emotions get the better of you is never a good idea, but particularly when you're driving a large lorry. This disgruntled driver from China is using his vehicle to punch his way past another car. Unhappy at being blocked in by the driver of the Audi, he decides to use his vehicle as a battering ram. A passerby tries to stop him by throwing a rock at his windscreen. Undeterred, he smashes the car out of the way. He seems to have little regard for people's safety as he maneuvers his car in the busy street before speeding off. He was later arrested by police. This taxi driver from Melbourne, Australia, uses his cab to clear a path after an altercation with 4 men. Quite what caused the cabbie to fly into a rage isn't clear, but he certainly wasn't hanging around for his fare. What would you do if 2 mopeds cut across the front of your car? After pausing for a moment, the driver of this car decides to chase after the mopeds. What happens next beggars belief. Not satisfied with having skittled them over like pins, he then gets out of his car to make his thoughts about their driving absolutely clear. Luckily, no one involved in the incident was seriously injured. Needless to say, the driver of the car was soon helping the police with their inquiries. In the Russian city of Ekaterinburg, a biker is out for an evening ride. A silver Fiesta swerves into his lane without warning. As he tries to get past the car, it continues to squeeze him for space. Annoyed, the rider decides to try and force the car to pull over so he can speak to the driver. The driver, however, obviously has other ideas. And eventually manages to drive off. But if you think that was the end of that, think again. Undeterred, the rider makes chase before catching up to him in traffic. The argument continues through the window of the car, but the driver moves off again. before changing his mind. The driver of the silver Fiesta decides to retaliate. That is not good driving.
Что делаешь-то, ебаный? Открывай, блядь!
He may have got away for now, but the driver was later arrested. During the Cultural Revolution in China, red guards tried to switch the meaning of traffic lights so that green meant stop and red meant go, but the idea didn't stick. If anything, the driver of this white car in southern China is a little too eager to stop at these lights. He looks pretty angry for someone who's just caused an accident. The argument continues off camera. But the driver of the car in front is not finished yet. Not by a long shot. As the driver of the car with the dash cam continues to shout at the passenger of the white car, the other is performing a rather alarming maneuver. Having been rear-ended, he decides to reap his revenge by smashing head-on into his fellow driver. Over. And over. And over again, before eventually the other driver snaps. In his efforts to retaliate, the driver of the white car has now managed to get both cars stuck together. Unable to move, he just gets up and walks off, leaving his passenger and the other driver stuck at the side of the road. If ever there was an advert for anger management lessons, this would be it. China will build enough skyscrapers to fill 10 New York-sized cities by 2025, but not if the drivers of these building site behemoths have anything to do with it. They're engaging in a Transformers-style battle royale on the streets of China. As traffic moves past as normal, these earth-moving machines continue to fight it out. After one of the huge construction vehicles is toppled over, more come to join the battle. It soon becomes like a scene from a Hollywood blockbuster. Apparently, the digger drivers were from two different companies fighting it out over the right to supply cement to a building project. I guess they just couldn't resist having a dig. There are times on the road when you have to thank your lucky stars that you've managed to avoid an accident. This driver from Russia will certainly be doing just that. If he'd got to the corner even a few moments later, he wouldn't be driving away from this spin. Whether it's pedestrians risking their lives walking in traffic, cops pulling people over by the side of the road, cars losing control on motorways, or unseen cyclists nearly being knocked off their bikes. For those involved, a near miss can be almost as traumatic as an accident itself.
Did you guys bloody just see that? Far out!
And this man in China would probably have needed to lay down in a quiet room after this miraculous near miss. Quite what was going through his mind at that moment is hard to imagine. Both vehicles somehow manage to avoid hitting the pedestrian, and he walks away without a scratch on him. Go buy a lottery ticket, mate.